Heyo, welcome back to another episode of the Hotel Motill podcast, a podcast where brother and sister Colin Motill and Emily Motill. I leaned away from the mic there to try and point.
You
that
didn't
was
give
too
me
ambitious.
enough time, Colin. You
Well,
were like,
I
thought you were gonna say my name.
I was, but then I panicked mid-intro.
Clearly.
So
that was
we'll
great.
have to work on
You
that.
also said our last name a little weird, and I was gonna call you out on that, so now I am. You
How did I
really
say it?
emphasized the till.
Well, it's Hotel Motill, not motel. That's why I wanted to emphasize it.
Right.
I guess.
So it's like, you know how you spell words for pronunciation, which Emily clearly needs.
Yeah.
I need pronunciation spelling on almost every single word and every single last names. The emphasis is on the TI.
And it's important that it's a play on words, obviously hotel, motel.
Oh, really?
But we need people to know it's pronounced the right way.
That's true. The amount of people that mispronounce our last name is crazy. So Colin and I were together.
Yes, we watched the Oscars together, which we will be breaking down today.
We also were together for a Titanic drinking game where Colin watched the work of James Cameron.
Big Jim.
For the first time in its entirety.
Thank you for explaining that well, because at the drinking party
I had
game,
to pause there.
You did not explain it well, where you kept saying Colin has never seen Titanic, which is not true, because I had a childhood where I had cable television and it was on all the time, and I had seen every single one of those scenes. I definitely have never sat down, beginning to end, said, I'm going to watch Titanic.
There were some scenes you probably hadn't seen because of whatever.
Bits and cracks or whatever, but the big strokes
movie.
of everything, I remember.
It was great.
That James Cameron guy, boy, he's got a future, I'll say.
Just like him in that Rolex commercial that aired at the Oscars.
Flex and a segue. We're talking Oscars, so they were last night at the time of recording. And so, Emily, you did beat me in our predictions, which it's funny because if you are a listener of the podcast exclusively, our picks are probably so different than what we did in our last recording.
Totally.
Because I know I changed up a bunch.
There's a lot of last minute quarterbacking, I would say, in our picks.
So you got 18, I believe, right? 18 out of 23?
Correct. Yeah.
I had 16 out of 23. It was, a weird year for the Oscars, so it wasn't like I was... I wasn't devastated, but
also we're so locked in that we wanted to have fun a little bit, and I wanted to go out on a limb on some categories. I knew I was going to lose original screenplay, but I was like, I want to do the one that I want to win in this one category.
Because if you got it right, that would be a flex.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Right, and I had the similar with I had Chalamet winning Best Actor. That was a bit of a...
What were your other big ones that you got wrong, Colin? Instead of doing the ones that you got right.
Wrong. Well, I got Brady Corbet for director is one that I was still thinking that they were going to split. Alas, they didn't. Sean Baker took it. Sean Baker won
Brutalist
not one, not two, not three, but 4 Oscars for himself. So good for him. I also had Best Original Song. I zagged. I said Amelia Perez is not going to get it. Even though El Mal was the favorite all season, I gave it to Diane Warren. And that was obviously wrong, but it's okay. I'm unfazed.
Watching the montage of original song, well, I guess we can talk about it when we talk about the broadcast, but I was listening to the song in Sing Sing and I was like, damn, this song is really good. Do I save this song on Spotify? And I know it's not in the movie.
It's not even in the movie, right? It's in the
No,
credits,
I've seen Sing
maybe?
Sing twice, and I'm Sing Sing's #1 fan.
I still haven't seen it.
Single-handedly
I'll see it.
Doing the PR for that movie.
Yeah.
By word of mouth. And I don't remember that song being in the movie. That's because I'm crying during the credits, but whatever.
We'll talk more about Best Original Song in a little bit.
We have to.
But let's get the broad strokes of the night. So Anora was the big winner. Won 5 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Editing. Its only loss was Yura Borisov for Best Supporting, so 5 out of 6, pretty darn good. Thus, Conclave, which was seen as the, maybe other contender in Best Picture. It only won one Oscar. It won Best Adapted Screenplay, which it's tough how that shakes out, where it's like you're the second favorite almost, and then only one. But
Yeah. I mean, Conclave kind of didn't do any awards campaigning, really, if
it
you really
floated
think
its way
about
to the
it.
top in a way,
Yeah,
where it's
like,
like
we
it was
kept saying,
just
"Where's Stanley? Where's Stanley Tucci? Get Tucci on Good Morning America
it
cooking a
is a war.
lasagna."
Yeah,
Yeah,
we needed more of that.
Conclave, easy, but
But
it's fine. I'm happy for Conclave just to be there.
I'm glad it got an Oscar.
Yeah,
And it winning adapted screenplay was a pretty big lock. But for Honora, going back to Honora, Mikey Madison took home Best Actress, which was seen as a pretty big upset on Demi Moore, I would say. I
yeah.
did switch my vote to my girl Mikey on my ballot, so I did get that one. I just couldn't get
I
like the
had
BAFTA
Demi.
out of my head, the BAFTA win and just the trend of if Honora is as well liked as we thought it was going to be, which clearly it was,
Yeah.
obviously they're going to vote for her. And I feel like The Substance wasn't necessarily the most inviting movie for every Academy voter, so it's possible they didn't even see Demi Moore in that movie. So
Or they didn't fully get it, or it went over their heads, or they didn't watch it. Like, I'm curious about the completion rate of some of these movies,
I want to know
especially, like,
the
the
Brutalist.
crazy ones. Yeah, The
Like,
Brutalist
I
for
want to
sure.
know the percentage. That's what they should do, honestly, somehow with the digital screeners, is like
Mhm.
track how if you actually finished it or not.
Yeah,
Um,
I bet, like, there's some way you can do it. If it's
and that
all digital
and they
now.
should put that. This is me cooking right here. Ready? They should put that data on your ballot. So when you fill out your ballot and you send it in, you choose your picks, but it says the runtime of every movie that you watched or whatever. So it's
Mm,
like, this guy. I don't know if that would actually make any sense.
it's not the
Um,
Netflix algorithm. I like it.
but very happy for Mikey. Big
Yeah.
upset. Um,
I had Demi Moore, but I was very happy that Mikey won. Like, I was
right.
glad to be proven wrong
And
in
I
that
felt like
category.
we knew it was going to happen as the night went on. It was
Yeah.
very clear it was going to be a Nora's night. From I think the first one was the screenplay win,
Mhm.
and then it was the Sean Baker show from there, who had what 3 speeches. I don't think he did a Best Picture speech.
Well, film editing, when we were watching film editing, we were like, "Okay, this is his first speech of the night,"
I think
and
screenplay was his first. I think it was
oh, screenplay was first?
because then he got
Over
up
yeah, yeah, yeah.
for editing. He made the joke of, "You should have seen the footage
Oh,
I
I
got from the
saved it in the
director."
edit.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saved it in
yeah,
the
yeah, I
edit,
saved it in the edit.
which is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hilarious. Crazy for him to win 4 Oscars. So he's the first person to win 4 Oscars for one movie in one year.
Mhm,
Walt
mhm.
Disney did win 4 Oscars in one year, but they were for different short films or whatever. Doesn't really count.
4
But
different movies.
yeah,
Crazy.
doesn't really count. What were the
Whoa.
Oscars back then? They had 4 awards for
Whoa.
shorts or whatever. I don't get it.
Whatever, it's Walt Disney. He's a legend.
Sure. The Substance only got one win. That was for best makeup and hair. I say only. It should be that The Substance winning an Oscar is an incredible achievement that it got this
Right.
far.
I mean, everyone keeps talking about how horror isn't honored in the Academy, and then Substance is a bodily horror movie,
Yep.
you know? Like, it is probably it's not scary, but it's bodily horror to a point of, like, you have to get that it's over the top for a point.
Right.
And so for it even to win an Oscar and even to be nominated in Best Picture is a win in the horror community, I feel like.
It's very new Academy, right? Where we're
Yeah.
seeing everything everywhere all at once get into Best Picture and win. And like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we would not have seen The Substance in Best Picture, or even like
Well,
I
do
don't
you
know,
think
maybe
Anora?
maybe 10 years ago. Uh,
Anora probably wouldn't have won as dominant.
Definitely
Independent
not.
film,
I would say that
low budget.
I like all these movies, or I like a lot of these awards movies this year, but it was generally a weaker year for award season, I would say. Just in terms of
Mm,
like big movies, cultural buzz, where obviously Anora now is the least highest, whatever, grossing movie
yeah.
since like the 60s to win Best Picture.
Well, you know
So,
what's weird? is that maybe I'm just very, very like my algorithm is very, very targeted to me, where the people that I'm around are very like we're all friends for a reason, right? But everyone was talking about Honora in the month of August and July. Like I thought the campaign was everywhere. So I don't
It
know.
they ran a pretty good campaign. I mean, it's
Am I
funny to think that it ran out of
niche?
steam or
Yeah,
whatever, or I
too
don't know
bad.
what happened to it where like it was deemed the front runner, but it didn't fade out like like A Star Is Born crashed out of the Best Picture race and that was just like
That's what
it
I was
never had a
afraid
chance
of.
even though it was the
Yeah,
favorite. This just stayed quiet and it had its supporters and it just rode its way all the way to the top. I mean,
literally the little engine that could.
there was it feels like Best Picture by default in a way, which kind of feels disrespectful to say about Honora, but it doesn't feel like there was a clear like this is the Best Picture of the year kind of movie for
Mhm.
the Oscars
Like
for
an
the Academy,
Oppenheimer.
like an Oppenheimer, sure.
Yeah.
But
Was Honora your
personally,
favorite
I'm
picture
thrilled.
of was
It
that your number
was
1?
it was like tied for me. Like I really liked The Beast as well, but Honora was definitely my
Okay.
one of my favorites, if not the favorite. So I'm
Go
thrilled.
stalk his letterbox and see if he's lying or not.
Heck yeah. 5 stars for Honora. I'm
Mhm.
not I'm not too liberal with the 5 stars, but I'll give
I'm
out like a
learning
couple
to
a year. You gotta
I'm
hold some
learning
restraint.
to restrain myself in the 5 stars on
I think I gave out
letterbox.
2. I gave out 2 last year, Honora and The Beast. So
Yeah. Well,
there you go.
well.
Let's walk through some of the other winners here. So Adrian Brody won Best Actor for The Brutalist. The Brutalist won 3 Oscars. It won for Best Cinematography and Best Score, which was kind of expected. I wanted
Yeah.
Timmy to win, but this was ultimately the guy all season, except for SAG. It'll be Timmy's time eventually. He's
Do
getting
we
Leo'd
wanna
right
talk
now.
do we wanna talk now about Adrian Brody's speech? Do we wanna get into that now, or should we
We might
save
as
that for
well.
our later categories?
We can
We
we can touch upon it. Where yes, he had a very long speech.
It's the longest speech in Oscar history, Colin.
Yeah, I did see that.
5
Uh,
minutes and 44 seconds.
I mean that's just a perfect way to represent the brutalist, though, where
He
and
did it on purpose.
he
It's
literally
art.
had like an intermission in his speech to tell him to turn the music off. So, uh, it was
Wow,
an
we're
interesting
really
speech.
unpacking it.
I
Yeah,
feel like if you're gonna
sure.
say I'm gonna wrap this up pretty quick, or whatever, you gotta actually like say something. And he just like was like searching for words and whatever. That drives me a bit insane. Where it's like, bro,
Yeah.
you did not even have like your like he eventually got there where he's like, make love not war or whatever.
You knew you were gonna win though, bro. Or like you were the favorite. Like
Mm-hmm.
time to prepare a little bit.
Do you think Demi was like super prepared?
Yeah, I think that dress that she was wearing is like a I know I'm gonna win an
She was
Oscar.
like
I
front and
have my
center too.
speech. Yeah, she was right next to Kylie Jenner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that stinks. But
I know you don't like to talk about the fashion, but we're gonna do a tangent right now
okay.
about the fashion for a second. Demi Moore's dress is like an Oscar-winning dress. Mikey Madison's dress is like a I'm just happy to be here, but I'm dressing like I'm 35, but I'm 25 kind of dress. And
Mm.
they're both giving very different vibes. Selena was giving I'm old Hollywood, I'm happy to be here, gold, glamour, old Hollywood. Like it's all about the vibe that you want to have the night to have, I feel like. Coleman Domingo in the red suit, he was like just having fun. He was like the
Right.
vibes guy, you know? So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's my pitch for you to care about the fashion of
So
the
what did you think of
Oscars.
Chalamet's suit? Because obviously I care a little bit more about the men's fashion.
Yeah, yeah. Chalamet suit, I loved it. I love that it's not just
The
a
highlighter
black
yellow.
suit. I think the highlighter yellow was a touch crazy, but also at the same time, it's kind of like I just gave a speech about how I'm going for greatness, and now I'm, like, showing up and being like, "I'm happy I'm here, but I don't give a fuck at the same time. I'm going for greatness."
It's fair.
Iconic.
I didn't mind the suit. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate
I
it. It's
mean,
like
I think he wore a similar cut of that suit in, like, black leather or black denim
mm,
to, like, the Oscar luncheon, and I thought that was his best look of the whole awards
yeah.
campaign,
I like it
and I feel
classy
like
at
he
the
just did
Oscars.
Yeah. What he wore to the Vanity Fair after party, you would have
Mm.
liked for the Oscars. It was probably just a little bit too
Oh,
casual.
I did see pictures of it. It was very classy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Anyway, sorry for the tangent.
no, other winners, Kieran Culkin, that was the first award of the night. Uh, Obviously a big lock. Gave a really funny speech, as he has
Mhm.
all season, where it feels like it's just he doesn't have anything prepared, but
Did
somewhat
you
he
find
gets
out
around to
what
something coherent.
Yeah, did you find out what he said when it was bleeped? Because it was not bleeped in the UK.
I did not.
So he was literally like, "Jeremy Strong, I effing love your work, bro. Oh, I'm not supposed to show favoritism, but I just did. Sorry."
Yeah,
And that was all bleeped. And he
that's
goes, "Oh,
great.
and I just cursed. There you go," or whatever, because he knew that there was, like, betting odds on if Kieran Culkin, like, swears in his speech or something.
Oh, I did see that too.
Yeah.
Um, but great win. I think
Happy for him. Happy for Jesse.
we can talk about this too now with Zoe Saldana winning. But
Mm.
category fraud, where do you fall in this?
Oh, I think Kieran when I walked out of A Real Pain, I keep saying this. I walked out of A Real Pain and I was like, Kieran Culkin supporting actor Oscar. Like walking out of the movie. I didn't think twice about it. But he is in most of the movie and he is kind of like the guy that you follow along with.
He's the
But
co-lead. I guess that's where it
yeah.
gets sticky.
But also but also we could make the same argument though for Ariana and Cynthia, to be honest. They're like
Absolutely.
Glinda and Alphaba are co-leads. When they bow on Broadway, they bow together, you know?
Right.
So, you can make the same argument. I think Zoe Saldana, though, that character is the character that you follow along with. It's not the titular character. She's in, like, 2 hours and 30 minutes of the movie.
It's only
Like,
because she's not the name of the main character.
exactly,
It's the name of the
exactly.
movie that she is
Yeah,
somehow supporting.
and
Um,
how she won it is because she was in so much of it, and she was kind of the only part that was kind of somewhat interesting in a crazy bad movie.
and there is
Sometimes
the legacy
interesting.
of it as well, where like she's getting the legacy award of the night. Where, all right,
Mm,
Zoe, you've been in Hollywood for a long time. You've been
you did
doing a lot
Avatar.
of blockbuster nerd bullshit, where you're green, where you're blue, where you're on a spaceship, whatever. Star Trek, Guardians, all these movies.
Mhm.
And like this is kind of like, okay, you've done a role that we feel we can honor your body of work and, throw you a bone in a way, I guess. Uh so Amelia Perez won 2 Oscars, which Zoe we were expecting, but it won an original song as well.
Mhm.
Nothing else, so it did not win international, which was quite the I don't know if it was a surprise necessarily because I did pick I'm Still Here. You also did.
I'm happy for I'm Still Here. The Brazilians were so happy. It was so cute.
Yeah. I saw
I
like a
loved
video of
that.
them going crazy in the streets, like they were playing it or whatever.
Yeah, I love that. Why don't we
Which
have that here?
because we don't have culture here. We suck.
It's true.
I think about this all the time with like baseball, where in Japan, baseball is the coolest. It's like the coolest thing in the world. In the Dominican, like I was watching the Dominican Winter League baseball games for no reason this winter, just because they're electric. I don't understand the announcers, but I'm having a great time. The players, the fans, there's an intensity and a love there that Americans just don't have. We don't have any culture. Anyway,
And that's his
Oscars.
rant on that. Um, I was happy that Amelia Perez only won 2 out of 13 nominations. It it all comes to Carla. And then if we wanna do we wanna keep going through the nominations, or can we talk about Conan for a second?
You can talk about Conan.
Okay, I thought Conan did a great job. I was skeptical of Conan at first, but that's because I don't know.
Why are you skeptical of Conan?
Sometimes Conan's humor just like, I don't know, rubs me the wrong way, but he was like super, super charming and he handled it really well. And he celebrated the night, and a lot of his stuff was so well set. The serious stuff was so well said, but
Mm-hmm.
then the funny stuff was really funny. And the Carla Sofia Gascon tweets joke and then the
Amazing.
publicist joke about the F bombs were I literally that's gonna live in my head rent free.
We
Like,
knew there had to
that's what
be a
I'm gonna talk
joke
about.
about Carla. We talked about that, right? That they had to
Mhm.
make some sort of reference
Had to
to
poke fun at it because
it
it was
and her
ridiculous.
being there as well. Um,
Right.
and I thought that was basically as good as it could have gotten. Like, that was a
Yeah.
great joke. It's funny, even if you are somehow on Carla's side or whatever. It's
Yeah.
still just a funny joke.
Who's on
Um,
Carla's side?
I don't know.
Carla.
But Conan did a great job. I'm a big Conan fan. I know you don't really like listen to his podcast or whatever, but his podcast is very funny.
Can
He
I ask a
feels built
question?
for this. I don't know. Yeah, what's up?
Conan, has he done any singing before that musical number?
I don't think so, other than just like
Just like
being a
random bits?
comedian, like doing a
Okay.
bit.
Because the musical number was funny because it's about like wasting your time,
I
and
thought it
then
was
it's a
really funny
stupid musical number.
because it was dumb.
But I do, yeah, but I do think it was very interesting that it was like defying gravity, two of the best singers of our generation, singing a very hard to sing song, crying. Emily was crying, and
Oh,
then
wait.
he had to do
Emily
his.
was crying? Let's just
I
take a
wanted
look
this.
here. Live look at Emily watching the Oscars.
That was before she even did the battle cry. That was like literally 2 notes into defying gravity.
I was afraid to like look over because I could hear you sniffling, and I was like, "Oh, geez, she's having a moment." Anyway,
That was me all during Wicked too. Anyway,
had to make that
um,
graphic once you sent me that pic.
I was expecting this. That's why I
Yes,
sent it, because it's a really good photo
very
actually.
good. Yes,
Um, but then it's like he does his monologue and then he does a song at the end,
I thought it was
and I was
funny,
like, oh, he had to separate it because he couldn't. You can't really sing right after Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande.
and he's been
You
doing
know,
monologues for 30 years or whatever.
right? He
So
was
I feel
trying to
like he
get
was
a temp of
comfortable
the
up there.
room.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that. Where like I love his how animated he is. He's moving around on stage, walking back and forth.
yeah,
Definitely feeling the room. Um,
yeah, definitely.
and he's been around for so long that everyone loves him. So there was never any fear of a Joe Coy situation happening, like at the
Yeah.
Golden Globes, whatever that was a couple years
And I
ago.
feel like everyone was really like the Timothy Chalamet jokes, the Adam Sandler joke, the Chalamet kind of
Great.
thing, like that reference. Like it was all so good. And like Timmy's like a guy who's in on the joke.
hmm
So yeah, it's great.
Conan's Kendrick joke also was very funny, very
Really great.
unexpected. Did not have a Kendrick joke happening at the Oscars on my bingo card, but maybe I should have.
I mean, it was a moment. Were we hyping ourselves up listening to Euphoria before the Oscars? We were, actually.
So easy for us. Um, just finishing up the wins, we had Flo won Best Animated, took down your favorite, The Wild Robot.
I
Uh,
voted for Flo though.
I did also predict Flo to win. Just the international body of the Oscars. I feel like the last couple years we've seen that they tend to go with the underdog international animated movie rather than big budget American animation.
I am now. I literally on my journey back to this apartment, I literally was looking up where to watch Flow, like for
It's on
tonight,
Max.
like on HBO Max. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm. Just
Also, did
Max.
you see? Oh, sorry. Did you see Anora's announcement? March
Uh
15th on Hulu.
oh, I did not. That's very
I
exciting.
knew that they were gonna announce where they
Mm-hmm.
would stream the movie as soon as they won.
Also, shout out the Criterion Collection for announcing that Anora was getting added to the collection like 2 months ago. They got ahead of it.
Really?
Yeah,
Love that.
it's awesome.
Love that. That's awesome.
Dune 2 won 2 Oscars as well, one for Best Sound and Best VFX. Both it deserved. I
Yeah.
got worried about VFX. I got in my head about it where I thought maybe Planet of the Apes could sneak in there because
You
I
voted
was.
for Planet of the Apes.
I did not. I voted for Dune.
Oh. Oh.
But I was debating Planet of the Apes as like an upset
Mhm.
pick because I learned that none of the recent Planet of the Apes movies, starting from the James Franco one onto now, the four, none of them
Mhm.
have won an Oscar for their visual effects, which is pretty surprising because those apes look really fucking good.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe there would be some honor there, but I feel like not enough people even saw Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
I watched it on the plane, and I hate
Right.
to admit that. Yeah,
No, it,
but
it was one of those movies where like I saw in the theater, thought it was good, liked it, I liked the franchise, have not thought about it since.
yeah, I was a little
It's fine.
confused, but I also was like, I'm jumping in. I have a 2.5 hour flight. I have a 2.5 hour movie. Let's go. Perfect.
And then lastly, Wicked. won for costume design and production design. Both deserving wins. So I think
Mm-hmm.
this was a good place to honor Wicked. The Bowen Yang costume design introduction was very
Best bit.
funny.
Best bit.
I like that there wasn't, because we're going to talk more about like the actual show now.
Mm.
I like that there wasn't very many presenter bits. Like that was one of the biggest ones because it was like very long. But I actually really liked the earnestness of we're going to have 5 actors come out and they're going to talk about their costume designer or they're going to talk about, their cinematographer or whatever. I like when it's about the work. So I like that. But the Bowen Yang bit was very funny.
But then I love Andrew Garfield, and him and Goldie Hawn was, like, adorable, and Andrew Garfield knew he was hot and was, like, working it. It just went on a little too long
It was
because
uncomfortable for me.
it
I
was,
was
like, a
like,
little too
what's
sincere,
going on
but
here?
then but then I do agree that, like, sometimes it was like, "Alright, we're just gonna bring out Robert Downey Jr., and he's just gonna give the award away," you know? Or
Mm.
we're just gonna bring out, um who did the Best Actor?
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian
Because it's
Murphy,
the guys from
obviously.
last year.
Right, sorry. How could I forget? Thomas
And
Shelby. Okay.
clips. We have to talk clips.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Huge.
supporting actor and actress did not get clips. They had the previous year's winners, Robert Downey Jr. and Divine Joy Randolph. They
Mhm.
came out and they gave a little speech, I guess, about each candidate or
Yeah,
each
they were like,
nominee.
but it was like sincere. You could tell, like, especially RDJ's was like from personal experience of knowing everyone.
Right. What he said about Jeremy Strong, especially, was like very personal.
Yeah, all of them felt very personal. Even
Divine Joy Randolph.
Divine Joy Randolph. Yeah,
But
I love her.
clips. Clips were shown for actor and actress, which I love clips. I want more clips at the Oscars. I want more montages at the Oscars. So I was very happy with clips for that, but I was nervous when they started with Best Supporting Actor and there was no clips. Because I was promised clips on Twitter, and I need my clips.
How did you feel about the clips that they pulled? Did you think it was an accurate representation of each film or of each like performance?
Some were better than others. But also there were
Mhm.
some movies that are like hard to like pick. Like, what do you pick for Demi Moore in The Substance?
Right.
Like what's her clip other than just her removing her makeup in the mirror like that? Maybe that's the scene.
Yeah.
I liked the
Because you
scene
can't
they
reveal
chose
the
for
photo.
Honora, even though I would have liked the one the a fraud marriage where she really emphasized. I love that scene. I think that line read is hilarious. But they did the one where she's leaving, the club for the like,
The strip club.
yeah,
Yeah.
when she's getting married or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, the clips were fine.
Yeah.
They also
I
did
like
clips for screenplays, which I liked as well. When they did
yeah.
the little text on the screen, I like that.
Yeah.
I eat that up.
He likes it. I liked that. I like clips. I pull clips. So that's why I was curious about how you felt about the clip pulls that they did.
And it's
Um,
also important because a lot of these movies not very highly seen by normal people, so the clips
like
help
Anora,
sell the
that's what I'm
movie.
saying. Like the Anora clips, like they didn't really show the whole part when it gets into like a chase, like
Mm-hmm.
My Cousin Vinny kind of like catch the bad guy kind of movie, which I feel like that could sell more people than like, oh, it's about sex workers
Right.
on Coney Island, you
I did
know?
have a couple of my like normal friends, my normie friends, who texted me. They were like,
Norms.
"Why are they thanking the sex worker community? Like, what is this movie about?" Um,
Mm,
but they're
mm.
lost for not seeing it.
And it's also so Sean Baker. Like I kept having to say to people like Sean Baker. This kind of sounds terrible. Sean Baker loves to talk about sex workers. Like he loves to have
Look at his
sex workers in
body
his
of work.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves telling these stories. And everyone's like, sex work is so marginalized and it's a taboo topic. I'm like, we talked about more taboo topics than sex workers at the Oscars this season. Let me tell you. Okay?
Yeah, you're not wrong. And like
Mhm.
even like Sean Baker's last movie, Red Rocket, is about like a former sex worker that grooms a little girl basically into becoming a sex worker, and like everyone was like, "Oh yeah, good Sean Baker movie,"
Yeah.
and it actually is a good movie.
I
Um,
I haven't seen any of Sean Baker's other movies, and I know that all of his movies are basically have a sex worker or focus on
or just
sex.
focus on like real people. That's kind of Sean
Yeah,
Baker's
yeah, yeah.
whole
Yeah.
deal. Um,
People that you don't usually see as a star of a movie.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
it's actually kind of rare that he casts someone. I mean, Mikey Madison isn't. She wasn't very well known before this movie, but she was definitely like more of an actor than we
It
usually
was
see
so
in
shocking
Sean Baker
learning
movies.
that she was 25. Like, I literally thought she was 30.
Yeah, she's young. Um, all right, so we went through all the winners here.
Mhm.
Let's talk about some of the standout moments from speeches, bits, whatever. Um, you want to start off with something cringy or something good?
I think let's start with good, and we'll end with the cringe, because I
I
think
like
that's
that.
funny. Yeah.
What do you got?
Well, I mean, my favorite moment of the show, we didn't even see, and that was Coleman Domingo. I mean, he was, like, front and center, red suit,
We saw a little
standing
bit of it.
up. Yeah, we saw him, like, dancing to Queen Latifah's
It was fun
performance
seeing
of
him
The
in the
Wiz.
wide shot.
Yeah, I love how vocal he was, and when, the guy from Wicked won for costume design, he was, like, right up, standing up. You could see him was very vocal about it. But my favorite moment was that apparently, right, and there's video evidence of this, it's not apparent. Right before they brought out the LA first responders, Coleman Domingo like hypes up the crowd and got
Mm,
everyone dancing and doing a shot and like celebrating right before that moment. And it's just him on stage just ripping a Don Julio shot. Like, I'm obsessed with him.
I
And I
love
feel
that
like,
he knew he wasn't gonna win, and so he was
yeah, he
just
was
like
just having a
having
fun.
fun, like
Yeah.
he was having a ball. So
Yeah.
good
And
for
then
him.
there's a picture of all the best actors that were nominated, like, they're all friends and they're all taking photos together, and, like, Sebastian Stan and Coleman Domingo are just, like, hanging on to each other the whole time, like, I love this. It's the best. Like, I love that BTS, like, behind the scenes kinda stuff of the
Hmm.
Oscars that you might not see in the actual show, but that's my
It's a good
number one
choice.
thing, but yeah, you go now.
I'm gonna mention a little bit, a
Okay, go.
pre-recorded bit that Conan did, which
Oh,
was
yes.
the the movie theater joke of streaming, but it's a building for streaming or whatever. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was very timely. Thought it killed. I kind of wanted a
Was
little
that
bit more of that.
before Sean Baker's speech?
I think so. It was pretty early.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
So I thought that was a great bit. I thought Conan did a great job at being very, showing appreciation for cinema. He didn't really bring it down in any way. He made like one
Yeah.
or two like, haha, the brutalist is long jokes, but I always got frustrated when Jimmy Kimmel would make those jokes because it felt like he just like was shitting on the movie for no reason. But there was some endearment with Conan, whatever, where like he doesn't
Mhm.
actually. I think he actually loves that movie genuinely, and it's just like a little like, ah, yeah, it was long, ha ha ha. Um,
How did you feel about the Dune sandworm getting so much love?
I love that he brought it back for another bit. Like it's just like
Randomly in the orchestra?
it's
Yeah.
very Conan where it's just a bizarre, really niche bit that he just commits to or
Yeah.
whatever. And I really like that. So that
The
Conan in
Dune
general, but that skit I liked.
tonic, though. Like, the jokes about the popcorn bucket and like, I'm so glad that it came to the Oscars.
Weird
That
that
was an
Dancing
internet meme.
Deadpool came out. I don't know why. I guess just to show, hey, remember when Marvel had a movie that made $1 billion last year?
Look, we're
Sure.
successful. We're the movie industry.
What's another moment that you got?
I well, I loved the opening, obviously, as shown by the picture. I think that was a perfect way of showcasing Wicked and its success and celebrating it when we all kind of knew, "Hey, you're not gonna win." But, like, we're not doing all the original songs, but, hey, here's a 2 really well, 3 songs from Wicked, Wizard of Oz, The Wiz kind of movies.
Mm-hmm. I liked the opening
Yeah.
where we can kind of segue this into what I would call a like a one of my least favorite moments of the show,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
this is a movie award show. I understand that there is a category called Best Original Song. Most years they perform almost all of the songs, and I'm glad they didn't do that this year because then we
Thank
would have
God.
had to get the uncomfortable Amelia Perez songs. You
Twice.
know, that would have been awkward.
Yeah.
So instead of that, what we got was the opening of Wicked with Cynthia and Ariana, which I think is fitting and it's a good
Well, it was
celebration
Somewhere Over the
of
Rainbow
movies.
first.
Right.
Wizard
So
of
going
Oz.
from Wizard of Oz, The Wiz to Wicked,
Telling the story. Yep.
that works for me. Where it's about cinema, it celebrates this year in cinema. Wicked was a huge hit. It's nominated for a bunch of stuff, and
They were
like it's not
both
going to win.
nominated. Yeah, they were
Right.
both nominated. Yeah.
And so I think that was a great way to open the show. However, what are we doing here with James Bond? We got to talk James Bond. So
Yeah. I was waiting for this.
we know that Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson sold to Amazon the film and TV rights to James Bond. So they even like Conan made a joke about that with Jeff Bezos. Very funny.
Tough night for Amazon.
What was the point of this? It was a celebration of James Bond. I get it. Like we've done celebrations of franchises and whatever random stuff before. Usually it's got more of a reason. I don't know if this was like, do you think that this was because they sold but that was like announced like a week ago.
I honestly think it was like, I want to hope it was just happenstance, but really like, I don't know why we're doing it now when the last Bond movie was like 4 years ago or
Right.
whatever. Like, was Daniel Craig even there?
Nope.
He must have been. No. Okay. No. See,
Or
Daniel
he
Craig
could
wasn't
have
even there.
been, but he wasn't nominated, so
I
I
didn't see
assume
him.
he
I
didn't go.
actually didn't see him.
Um,
But why is Margaret Qualley dancing? She looked great.
I get
I
it
loved it.
conceptually where it's like, okay, she's the sexy Bond girl or whatever.
But also the substance level, okay.
But also,
why are
it's
we
just a
doing
waste
this?
of time. It's not about anything, It's a dance number for Margaret Qualley and a bunch of random dancers, and then we brought out 3 pop stars to do 3 James Bond songs that they didn't perform. What are we doing?
I also thought, I think it was because maybe I'm like, okay, Lisa's from Blackpink, a K-pop group. Maybe this is like the way that they get the younger people or like the K-pop fans, or they're trying to get like, a different audience, the international audience, all of this stuff. But really, we did not need that. Hey, I would love to listen to Skyfall sung by Ray. Like, I was like, we could have just had that. That would have been fine. She is like the new Adele. Like, I'll
But
take
it's
that. But it
again,
felt
okay,
like
it's
her.
the new Adele, but I don't care. It's not the Grammys. Like
Right.
if she was nominated for something and she was also there and then she did this, that's different. But I don't
Yeah.
care. And
Yeah.
it's the show went 20 minutes over or whatever, and that's 20 minutes you cut right there. Where
And that's the 20 minutes of the big awards that people couldn't watch on Hulu because the Hulu live stream ended at 10:30.
And I'm not against like the celebration of cinema like James Bond necessarily. I am anti more so the musical numbers. You could have had that in the background of like a montage of like, say they were doing a montage of like James Bond moments or whatever.
There was a
on
montage
stage
2
they
minutes
sing.
before then.
I know, but like do it while they're singing. Play the montage while they're singing.
Kind of like the in memoriam
Like
part.
the in memoriam. Because why did they each get 2 verses? That it took forever to get through those songs. It was
Diamonds Are Forever
infuriating.
was tough. I was even surprised Doja Cat
what was going on with
that song.
Because that was really bad.
Yeah, I was surprised Doja Cat was even singing that song. I was kind of like, wait, why is like she doing this? And I was like, I was just surprised by the pick of it.
It's overall confusing. And so
yeah, but also
really
how do you? So you're anti-musical numbers, James Bond, honoring James Bond. Like, it didn't make sense. It didn't tell the story of the year of the movies, that kind of stuff.
It was
I get that.
irrelevant to
The
this
Quincy
year.
Jones tribute. How did you feel about that? That seems more timely. He did pass this year. He was
Yes.
huge in music. We had Oprah and Whoopi both looking amazing, and me just, like, hyping over Oprah, dying over Oprah.
I
But,
think
like, did we need the
the
musical number?
if
But he was
I'm
music.
if I'm being rational, if I'm being level-headed, give me one or the other, you know? Cuz
Okay. Whoopi
inside
or
I'm like
Oprah?
I don't care about musical numbers. I know whatever. Like I understand that they need to fill some airtime or whatever. So just do one of the two. Quincy Jones or
Quincy Jones was a music producer.
right. But I it is a lot of like, what are we doing here? There was an
Queen Latifah did not know the
easy
words.
45 minutes that could have been cut from the show.
Mm,
So that was a bit disappointing from a pacing point of view for me.
mm, I get that. Do we wanna now talk about a little bit more about the speeches?
Yes. So specifically, there was a bunch of cringier moments in
Mhm.
some of the speeches. Should we start with El Mal, the Amelia Perez song writers or
We go from
whatever?
song to song. Yeah, let's go.
So she starts singing at the end of her speech a song that might have been the one that won. I don't think it was, though.
No, it wasn't. I think she was just singing Amelia Perez's name.
Was she trying to start like a sing along with the crowd? Like it felt like she kept singing way too long.
I I never got that impression, but then online, like, the online chatter today, that's what people were saying, and I was like, "I never got that." I just thought that she was just trying to make a point about this movie and, like, the message of this movie kinda thing. But if it's
Probably
a
the wrong audience to do that in front of because everyone hates that movie
yeah, if it was a
now.
chant, no one's gonna be chanting Amelia Perez where Carlos Sofia Gascon is sitting, like, there.
Yeah,
You're viscerally reminded about how crazy this person is that's sitting 2 rows in behind you, you
it
know?
was massive theater kid energy. It was just all right, sit
Okay,
down.
he did.
It
Well,
was
it was also, like, I understand this is the Oscars and every Oscar award matters, but this is, like, best song, like, and you guys are, like
it's their moment. I get it. It's their big moment, but also
totally.
don't be an idiot on stage and do cringy. Like it was so cringy and so hard to watch when she started
It was
singing.
bad.
And I'm glad they played her off, but like she kept singing through the music, playing her off.
Yeah, yeah, and then the speech in the press room that they gave afterwards, and John Gaultier, John what's his name? I'm gonna
Oh,
mess it
Jock
up.
Audiard,
Jacques Audiard, thank you.
the director.
He was the director walked up to the mic because it was, like, his movie
He
that won
wrote some
best
of the
song.
lyrics for the song, so he won the Oscar
Sure.
technically.
Okay, technically, okay. That's why he was there. And he walked up, and the Rolling Stones writer asked a really good question. She was like, "Why did none of the speeches, like, you or the speechwriters or the songwriters didn't talk about trans rights when, like, this song and this movie specifically is about that?" And he goes, "Well, I didn't win Best Director. I haven't gotten up there for Best Director or Best Picture yet, so I'm gonna hold it until then." That's what he said, and then walked off.
I just can't wait for this movie to go away forever. you
Uh,
know?
I I honestly wish I didn't watch it, Colin. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't watch it because I was on my phone for a little bit of it, but
I wish it didn't exist.
I wish I didn't
No,
have
that's
to
not
watch
even
it.
true. That's not even true. I take that back. I'm glad it exists. I will never watch it again.
Yeah.
And
I
historically,
think it puts
I just feel like
Netflix
historically it's
back.
going to be one of the worst. Like, it would have been like Crash or Green Book if it won, but like
Yeah.
maybe worse. So I'm glad the controversy killed it.
I think it's gonna put Netflix back in their hunt for an Oscar Best Picture. I think it's gonna set them back.
It's going to motivate them like Timmy.
No, I think it's gonna
Oh, it's going to set
it's
them
gonna
back.
hurt them. Yeah. Like, what filmmaker is really gonna I mean,
Well,
you can't say no to Netflix money, but
I think
I don't know.
Scorsese's movie with The Rock is Netflix. I think that's the rumor.
Really?
I think so. I could be wrong, but also
He's an Apple guy.
we saw Netflix is losing business at least a little bit, right? Where we saw
Mm,
Wuthering Heights chose to go to theaters instead of Netflix for less
hell
money.
yeah. Hell
Um,
yeah.
and now we're seeing Greta Gerwig is getting Chronicles of Narnia into theaters for Netflix, which is new.
Yeah.
So maybe this
Changing their
will
whole
force
strategy.
Netflix to just change things up, but
Yep.
probably not.
Yep.
Uh,
Um,
what
back to
else?
speeches. What was the speech where it was probably for like best short or something when they were reading off their phone
Oh
and then we
yes,
were like, was this a joke? Was this a bit? They
very
repeated
odd.
themselves.
And like
Yeah,
he,
what category was that?
I don't remember the category off the top of my head, but it was definitely one of the shorts or the
Yeah.
documentary or whatever.
Yeah.
No, it
They were
wasn't. It
clearly
wasn't
not
best documentary, but yes, it was one of the
they were
shorts.
not they were not English speakers. So that must be super hard and super scary and super intimidating.
So she
I
was
can
reading
only
off the
imagine.
phone, and he grabbed the phone and basically was like, "You're not reading it right." But then he started rereading exactly what she was saying. So it
Yeah.
was kind of just like oh, maybe don't
Yeah. And they
do
talked
that.
about their visas or something right beforehand. It was tough. And then the music started to play and yeah,
You
it was
know,
a it
it's
was
funny for as big of an Oscar guy as I am, I really don't care about the speeches all that much. I know like that's the juice for some people, but for me it's kind of just like, oh, the winner has been decided, and then I kind of just like turn my brain off and I'm just like, oh, like look at them. They're up there with their statue. This is great or whatever. And I kind of like what they actually say. What did Adrian Brody say during his speech? Cuz I got nothing. I can't tell you.
I know he thanked his mom
It was
after turning the
5
music off.
minutes plus whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could talk about that too now, I guess.
And Zoe Saldana screaming.
Oh,
Screaming.
yeah, that was an annoying speech, but I get
She's
it.
always annoying.
You're an actor. I think we saw some pretty peak actor brain in Adrian Brody's speech and in Zoe Saldana's speech. Very,
Mm,
it's very like kind of what we would have seen with the Academy, the older Academy, where it's more of like a high honor and you get up on the stage and you're crying and you're emotional and it's thank you, oh my goodness, whatever. It's a big honor.
yeah.
Where I feel like that's like kind of less in favor nowadays, where we kind of want someone to go on stage and not make it all about themselves and cry and talk about how hard acting is. And I'm super into this stuff, so I don't want to make fun of them too much because
Yeah.
I love this stuff. This stuff is for me, but I don't know.
This is for me. Yeah, I just felt like she was, girl, you were the odds are favorite. Like, come on now. I know it's an emotional moment. I probably would be crying too, but it was like the yelling and the screaming. It's like, oh my god.
And yeah, she was
You're an
doing that
you're
for
again,
every
you're also
award
an
that she won.
actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're an actor and you know how to like talk into a mic, you know?
And
So
then
that was tough.
Zoe also had the fun quote afterwards where she was
Mm,
asked about Amelia Perez and she said what, like sorry all Mexicans were offended.
yeah, she literally that's how she led her press room interview. She's
Great
like,
way to start.
well, I think there was a question being like, "I'm Mexican, this movie, whatever," and I need to get, like, what the reporter said because you don't usually hear the reporter because the reporter sometimes isn't into the mic, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "Well, I'm sorry you and the whole country of Mexico were offended by this movie. We tried to tell a story." It's like, "Ooh,
Yikes.
tough."
As I said earlier, I cannot wait to never think about Amelia Perez again. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
cannot
yeah, yeah,
wait. Like today is the first day of the rest of my life in the post Amelia Perez era.
yeah.
I feel great. I feel like a new
Post Emilia
man.
Perez, we are ready to go.
I
That's so
feel great.
funny.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
what else speech wise? I want to talk about Sean Baker. We talked about him a little bit, but I want to
Mhm.
talk specifically about his best director speech, which was given to him. The award was given to him by Quentin Tarantino, who is Sean Baker's friend, very close friend in real life, and they share a lot of the same opinions about movie theaters. So seeing Sean Baker kind of go on that big speech about how movie theaters are dying and independent cinema needs your support and all that stuff, and just seeing Quentin in the back kind of just like, yes, preach king. Loved that. And I love that
Yeah.
he thanked Quentin for discovering Mikey Madison basically and putting her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, it was great. I also think that was the perfect time to say the movie theater like, that's the award to say that, right? Like, best director.
Mm-hmm.
That's not you don't say that when you win best picture, you don't say that when you win best screenplay,
I think
you
every
know?
one of Sean Baker's speeches was perfect for the award that he won. The
Yeah.
editing joke he made was great. Like, he made 3 pretty distinct speeches.
Yeah. And each had a different message and memorable.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I know a ton of people that were like, "Oh, I need to watch all Sean Baker's movies now." And I'm like, "Oh,
Right.
that's
He came
great.
off really
Me
great.
too." Yeah, me too.
So
What
that was
else?
good.
Yeah.
Um, what else? I guess that is mostly it.
Mhm.
So we watched it on cable, which is fun,
Yeah.
a fun little throwback. There
Oh, yeah, I
was
mentioned
big
this.
controversy though.
Mhm.
If I was watching on Hulu here, I would have been so livid, Emily,
Me too.
because they at 10:30, for those who don't know, Hulu was co-streaming it with ABC. Because they ran over, the Hulu live stream just ended at 10:30. And so if you were watching on Hulu, you did not see Best Actress or Best Picture handed out because it was not there. That is, I would have been unbelievably upset.
I would have been screaming. I
I
would
would
have
have been
been
panicking,
a
trying to find
mess.
another stream.
Yeah, me
And
too.
yeah, I would have been a mess. I would have been
I
a
would have been
mess.
a mess. And
So
it's like
sorry for anyone that had to deal with that.
the most important time of, you know,
Right.
the award season. It's crazy. It's
Uh,
insane.
Other quick bits. Your girl from Thelma and Scarlett
June
Johansson,
Squibb.
June
Mhm.
Squibb.
Did you know
Uh
that Scarlett Johansson is directing June Squibb in a movie?
oh, no, I did
That's why
not
they
know
were
that.
together. Yeah,
Smart.
I just found that
Okay.
out, and I said, "Sign me up."
That was
Also,
one of the
Jurassic
other
World.
rare. That was one of the other rare like presenter bits, and where like June Squibb said she was being played by Bill Skarsgård. Like that's
Yeah,
funny. There were some good
but like,
Nosferatu jokes,
yeah, there was some good, but it wasn't like it was like a traditional bit, right? Where it's like they
right?
stand up in the mic and give the bit. It's not like
And it
the bit
works way
with Adam
better because
Sandler.
it's June, because
Yeah.
it's her.
Oh, I love her.
So that was a good one.
I'm happy
Um,
she was there.
I did notice that like I felt like a lot of famous people weren't really there at the show as much. I mean, I know Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is filming,
Yeah.
so a lot of Hollywood's there, but I don't know.
No
I want
Zendaya, right?
I want the Oscars to matter again. We talked a little bit about this before we watched the Oscars together, but I think it should be the Super Bowl for movies. It should be every commercial break is a brand new first look at random Oscar-y movie, and like
What
keep it
trailers did we
Oscar-y.
get? Did we get trailers? In I thought we got we got
We got a
what was the
John Wick ballerina commercial,
yeah.
and
Was that a
then
commercial or a trailer? Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the
it doesn't
same.
really matter. It's kind of all
Yeah,
the same. I think it was a
all the same.
commercial though, and then
Okay.
I don't really know.
Wow.
But we should have like
Where's
in
the Superman trailer?
not even Superman necessarily, because like I mean, sure, you could absolutely do that as well. But in my perfect world, I'm envisioning like a 20-second teaser for Paul Thomas Anderson's next movie, or a first
Mm,
a first look at Josh Safdie's movie with Timothy Chalamet. Just like literally 2 seconds of footage or whatever. Like you know how
or
like
BTS. Yeah,
HBO
teaser.
does like a coming up on HBO montage thing. Like
Yep.
maybe it could be something like that, of like holy shit, our first look at footage of X, Y, and Z. Jordan Peele's new movie is coming out this year, I think, or maybe it's next
Hmm.
year. But like imagine if we got like surprise new footage for all these like auteur films, like that would draw a lot of buzz.
Yeah. I like that. I really like that.
And like
That's a
you could
good
even
my
incorporate it into the show. Like it doesn't have to be a commercial
yeah.
break thing.
Yeah. Yeah. My suggestion for the Oscars is again to kind of make it like a Super Bowl. Like I want jokes about like the hedge bets. Like I want like a you could do like a running ticker about the odds on the broadcast or like
No,
you
don't
could
do that.
that'd be so funny.
I like
I don't know. I'm just trying to think about how to modernize it.
I
And
guess
like
that
but
would
I
be how to
also
modernize it.
right where it's like I don't know. I'm
But
thinking about it.
that is my worst fear. Honestly, it would be like a
Okay.
ticker with it, because like gambling
Not a
has
ticker,
ruined
but
sports so much. In terms of
it
just it's
bumped the
on the
viewers.
screen all the time. You're right, and
Oh,
it's a revenue stream, but it's so annoying.
okay.
Watching sports
Well,
is impossible now without seeing FanDuel bubbity bubbity buh. So I don't want the Oscars to
money.
become that.
Right. No, true. And it's like it's in a classic establishment
And it's
thing.
about
I'm
the
just
art.
trying to
It's
think.
not about,
Well,
know.
next year we're getting 4 or 5 new categories,
Yes.
including best casting,
Hmm.
best stunts.
Is that
I don't know
confirmed?
the other ones.
I'm
I'm
gonna look.
assuming.
I'm gonna look up those because I'm not really familiar.
Okay. Best casting, I found out that Sean Baker obviously did the casting for Nora,
He would have
and he
won.
probably would have won, and that would have been 5, which I'm obsessed with.
It looks like I only see best casting as being added, but I know there's
Well,
been
they
talk about best stunts for a while.
I in the beginning of the broadcast, they said there's gonna be 28 categories next year.
Did they really? I must have missed that.
Yeah, yeah, and they said including best casting, and I was like, "Oh," then I assumed it was best stunts because then afterwards it was like an homage to stunt people.
Interesting.
A clip from The Fall Guy. Yeah. I
So,
could be totally wrong, and I could fall for fake news,
but casting
but
is confirmed happening, which is a great
yeah, which I'm
addition.
so happy. I love that because
I
there's so many
think
times I'm like, "This is perfect casting."
I would love for them to change some of the categories. I mean,
Okay.
in my perfect
So
world, we
what?
get rid of best original song altogether, but in the meantime, we'll accept it. I
Mm.
think
Well, best original song needs to be a song that plays in the movie that pushes the plot or pushes the themes of the film. It can't be
yes,
the post-credit scene, post-credit or credit song.
right. It can't just be a pop song that was recorded for the whatever.
Yep.
Um, I think we can rethink international film now. I mean, we had 2 international films nominated for Best Picture this year. I feel like now that
Make
movies
it
are
bigger.
so accessible
Yeah.
internationally, like I can watch I'm Still Here whenever, and I don't know. I think that there's
You can rework it.
I don't know how you change it. I know that there's the rule where only one movie per
Country can
country
submit.
can be
Yeah.
represented,
I
and
get rid of that rule, but
right. I guess it's just so it doesn't like it's not one country dominating it,
yeah.
but I
I
don't know.
mean,
I feel
even think
like
about last
they
year,
can
like
change it.
Zone of Interest and
And then I Move a Fall.
yeah, 2 amazing movies
Mm-hmm.
that I saw in theaters that were international. Like,
Right. And like
amazing.
even like going back more years, we had like Drive My Car and Past Lives, and like we had all these.
Parasite.
Yeah, and of course Parasite. Um,
Yeah. So, let's say we're giving the Oscars broadcast, the Oscars, the award season in general, how this award season shook out, a rating from 1 to 10. 10 being this was pinnacle Oscar award season. We're going to be talking about this forever. This is the peak cinema, Santa Claus winning in Miracle on 34th Street level iconicness. And then 0 and 1 being Seth MacFarlane's really bad boobies joke, just, Green Book winning. Like, in general, how do we think that when we look back at this award season and this Oscars, where would we fall in that ranking? And if my rankings are off from 0 to 10, but I just feel like that's a good
no,
description
I
of
get what you mean. Like
yeah,
it's not close to a 10 necessarily
no.
because it's not like it's a great year for cinema and there was like 3 amazing movies competing for Best Picture, and it's not
It
like
was a
it's
wild year, but it was like
right.
the movies were also like, all right.
Like
The
in
Brutalist is
19
awards bait.
yeah, in 1994 movies, that was like the year that like Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump and like those movies were all nominated, and I think Shawshank and Forrest
Mhm.
Gump won, and like that's a great year for the Oscars of like you look at
Yeah.
those 5 Best Picture nominees and you're like, wow, what a year. This
1999.
yeah, you can't do that with this year really because
No.
there's I'm very happy with Nora winning and sweeping because it was one of my favorite movies of the year. It's what I would have voted for, but it might not have like the historical staying power that other movies like even like Oppenheimer last year is going to be. That's
Mhm.
a forever movie, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if that's this, but I am still very
I hope it
happy
is.
that this will get so many more eyeballs on the movie, and so I can't complain. I would give it a solid 6.8 because
Oh.
because I think it's not great, but I think
Mhm.
for the movies that we had this year, this is honestly the best case scenario for me. So
Mm.
I'm happy, but it's not like all time.
I would give it a 7 because of how there were some locks and then there was some unpredictability,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what makes a good Oscar season is if it was Anora the whole time, we would be like, "Ugh, Anora
Right.
won," you know? But we'd still be happy, kind
Mm-hmm.
of like how we were for Oppenheimer. We're like, "All right," you know?
Right. This
It's
was definitely one
Nolan.
of the more entertaining Oscars from the sense of I don't know what's going to happen awards
Yeah,
wise.
yeah.
Um,
That's
so
why I
that
gave
was
it a 7.
helpful.
Yeah, I
Okay.
gave it a 7.
And
More for Conclave.
is that just for the awards, or are you factoring in like Conan and like everything, or do you want to do a
No,
different score for that?
everything. I think everything because when you think about the Oscars in general, like you think of when you think of La La Land and then Moon Knight, right? Like they're like associated
Moon
together
Knight, the
with
Marvel series Moon
oh,
Knight. Yeah,
there it
yes,
is.
Barry Jenkins' Moon Knight on Disney
Mhm.
Plus. Although that
Mhm.
weirdly wouldn't be out of the realm for Barry Jenkins since he did Mufasa. Anyway, continue with your point.
Moonlight.
There you go. You're right.
Um
It's a good point.
yeah, thank you. And you put the Oscar you can't really separate it from your brain from like the Oscars ceremony. I think the ceremony in general was great. I know people will say it was boring. I didn't think it was boring. I thought it was long, but that's because we also care. So I will never say it's boring.
I think the awards were exciting, and I think the musical numbers really brought the show down for me.
Yeah.
And it was paced a
But we're
little
not gonna we're gonna think about
poorly.
the stupid speech. We're gonna think about the stupid Bond stuff. But like in the grand scheme of things, this was a very tight ship. There were some weird things with the film, like the camera cutting, whatever, but it was a very tight show. It knew the jokes, it knew the where to
And I want Conan
extend a
back
little
next
bit.
year. I want Conan. I want like a 5-year
Yeah, it was a
Conan
good
run.
host. Yeah.
He was great.
Solid 7. All in general, I had so much fun, and I miss award season already.
And now we look forward to the 2026 Oscars, where calling my shot early here on YouTube, it's March 3rd of 2025.
Mark it.
Rose Byrne is winning Best Actress next year.
In what?
She's in some movie that was in Sundance that Conan O'Brien is in, that he plays the supporting
Oh,
role.
she's in that movie? Okay.
Yes. And apparently it's very good.
Can I say? I think Timmy's gonna win for whatever movie he's been filming
Marty
on the Lower
Supreme,
East Side. Yeah.
that's the Josh Safdie movie. I don't think he's going to
Yeah,
win
yeah,
for that
yeah.
because I think it's going to
I
be
think he's
kind of
gonna
more
win for that.
quirky.
I think he's gonna
Um,
that's what he's gonna win for.
okay. All right. I would love for that to be happening. So,
He has his little funny mustache for this
uh,
movie.
all
It
right.
filmed on my it filmed on my block, by
All
the way.
right. All right. All right. All right.
Sorry. Anyway, passionate
Uh,
now about this movie.
next week, are we reviewing Mickey 17?
Do I have to see it this weekend?
I mean, it comes out this weekend.
Does it? I thought it
I,
came out March 17th.
I thought it comes out this weekend.
Let's look it up. So quick. Because then Emily needs to get on
March
that.
7th, 2025. That is this Friday.
All right. So we'll review Mickey 17.
Hell yeah. So,
I might be seeing Novocaine on Saturday, but I might cancel my ticket. We'll see. Yeah, we'll review Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho. They're doing amazing press together.
yes.
Robert Pattinson.
So I'm very excited. Like one of my
Yeah.
most anticipated movies of the year. So it's
Yeah.
a fun jumping off point of like Oscars to one of my most anticipated movies of this year. So it's like it's a good transition. It's like New Year's transition.
Well, that's how I felt about we came off the Oscars last year and Dune and Challengers were always like were already in the zeitgeist and I was just like all in on both of those. So it was awesome. I'm ready. I'm hyped for Mickey 17. We'll see how it is.
All
It's
right.
Sarah Robert Pattinson.
Well, we will discuss next episode of the Hotel Motill podcast. Emily, thanks for joining me today. Make sure you like and subscribe. Smash that bell. Oh, wait. Oh, shoot. Okay, there was another YouTube thing that I wanted to say. Oh, I thought about it earlier. It was a YouTuber thing that they always say. Oh,
Like and subscribe.
no. I should have said this at the beginning, I guess. Oh, it doesn't matter because I won't do it this episode, but they'll leave like time codes below for different topics or whatever, you know? So I
They
should have
say
done that.
that?
Yeah, it's like time codes below if you want to jump around, whatever. for like a podcast where it's like, oh, I didn't watch that movie, but I want to hear them talk about whatever later.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay, time codes. Now we're learning.
Time codes. Look out for time codes in the future. All right.
Yep. Alrighty. Logging off, signing out, checking out. Goodbye.
I gotta go poop.